least in my book.
Yep.
But we can move on to another top of the group match, basically, which is going to be Glory versus FroStee. Glory, we've just seen the leader of Division A, play. Now we're going to see the leader of Division B play, with both players looking like they are shielding Warrior, so they instantly earn my disdain to a certain extent. But let's see what is cooking. The Shaman is banned out for Glory, and the Priest is banned out for FroStee, which means Glory does have access to Zoo and Priest. And obviously his Warrior that he shielded, whereas FroStee has Druid, Warrior, Zoo as well. And interesting build from Glory, because he's not running Druid, and that's the big question point for me, because to me this is one of the few lineups I've seen that's triple aggro and a Warrior, which is not common, at least in Asia Pacific.
It's not, but I think if ever there was a week to not bring Druid, and especially if ever there was a region, it would be week 4, season 2, Asia Pacific, very specifically.
Day 3.
What? Doesn't make any difference, but yeah, still just better. As for Glory, given that there is a lot of Zoo knocking about, a lot of Priest knocking about, and arguably Quest Shaman as well, all of which are pretty bad matchups for the Druid, I think this is a perfectly reasonable week to not bring Druid, especially as a lot of the Warriors are teching for the matchup now. We're seeing more removal put in there to be able to outlast everything the Druid is trying to do. So for Glory here, I am actually a big fan of his lineup personally. I think it punishes the people who do bring Druid and is protects himself against it because he can't be targeted with his own Druid.
Yeah, I do like the bait and switch approach quite often in a format like this, where so what I've talked about Warrior, right? Everyone brings Warrior. Well, why don't you just not bring Warrior, and then everyone who's prepped for Warrior just has like an empty moment of saying, you could argue if they were planning on banning Warrior, then they get a free ban or whatever, but if they just haven't prepped for it, and suddenly the way they do the maths a lot of the time, we're seeing, 2 decks have a good matchup, one of your decks has not so good matchups. But then if that's the plan, and then Warrior just disappeared from that, well, maybe 3 decks have a good matchup, and you've just nailed your opponent with the shield and ban phase, and that can happen. We saw last match where we were surprised Chonsu queued Druid, because his Druid kind of just got locked out because of everything you were talking about in terms of taking against it, bringing certain decks that do well against Druid, whereas your Druid can't get locked out if you don't bring it. And that sounds very dumb and silly, but it's also kind of true. Like, Glory doesn't have that problem of saying, oh, well, there's a Warrior tech for Druid, there's Zoo, there's Hunter, or there's Shaman or whatever. I'm like, oh, how am I going to win? Or I'm just -1 deck. Whereas now it's like, no, I've got 3 aggro decks against his lineup, and FroStee does have Druid, so thumbs up from me.
Big time. And that's why I do like the Warrior Protect from FroStee. From a strategy perspective, from an enjoyment of the match perspective, I'm with you. You should not be protecting the Warrior for our own personal entertainment. We've seen quite enough of those mirrors. Even this week in one. That was more than enough. Yeah.
That'll do. That'll do. But anyway, match number 2. FroStee on the top on the Zoo with a pretty solid opening as far as I'm concerned.
Ooh, yes.
Glory on the bottom on the Control Warrior with Brawl and a Dream. Oh, okay. Not too bad either. Turning him over.
Yeah. Holding on to the Brawl against Zoo that's something that in the olden days of Control Warrior would feel like a pretty easy mulligan decision. But in a world of quad 1-drops, I don't know if that's necessarily quite so obvious of a keep there.
In a world of quad 1-drops, Whirlwind, Frightened Flunky, Warpath, Weapons Project, Snip Snap, Shield Blocks, Restless Mummies, all of which you could do before a Brawl.
Most of those cards over a Brawl.
Do you think it's...
I'm actually going to look up the win rate of Brawl against Zoo, because I'm not entirely sure at the moment.
So it's something I've talked about now and again throughout my casting career, because it's something that I struggle with. I think maybe it's one of the biggest flaws with my play of Hearthstone, at least, is instantly in my mind, I go, it's as if, say I've got Glory's opening. I go, oh, my opening hand's bad. I'm mulligan away these. If I throw Brawl, what if I get something bad? But if I keep Brawl, it's not great, but it's not bad. I can at least Brawl on 5. And that, not necessarily, that's definitely not the correct way to approach a lot of mulligans, right? You just mulligan for good cards 9 times out of 10.
Yes,
but
absolutely.
I think, for me at least, and maybe for other players, it's easy to slip into, well, this isn't a bad card, so I'll keep it to be safe, so to speak, even though it isn't that safe. If the card's red, put it back, like draw another card, you would probably do that most of the time. But with this instance, I'm not saying Glory is doing it, but it's something I think that is common in Hearthstone, is to just go, this card's okay.
Yeah, and you know, just looking up against Zoo, it is okay. It's around the middle, slightly above the middle for Zoo, against Warlock, which is not just Zoo, but at the moment majority Zoo.
It's Zoo and purple.
Yeah, pretty much. And yeah, that is why I think for Glory, again, if he had cards in hand like Frightened Flunky already, one-drops already, then I'm more on board with it. When it's the only good card in your hand,
and that's
I feel
it.
like more aggressively
that's where I feel
searching
like
for the
it does like mental gymnastics on myself, where I'm like, but it is the only good card I've got in my hand, maybe, and maybe it's the only good card I'll get after I mulligan. It's so like you almost like mind games yourself, or at least I do it out of my own mulligan half the time. It's so annoying, and every time I start doing it, I'm like, you better than this, Raven. And then Ladder quickly teaches me I am not.
Personally, one thing that I feel like I always improve with a deck is when I think about what is the dream hand I can get, and if I don't have it, I kind of just mulligan away to try and get it.
It's what I need to do.
I like being optimistic. I like just saying I want exactly this, and if I don't have it, I'm not happy enough. Like one of the biggest tips I got is doing what Ball Control does in a mulligan, where he clicks on all his cards to put a cross on them, and then has to persuade himself, do I want this card? Not do I want to get rid of this card. Is this good enough for me to click off of it?
Do I want this in the early game of this game of Hearthstone?
And I think that's a better way to have it. It's not that you're getting rid of something, it's more that you're keeping something and stopping something else.
Look, getting rid of something. Frosty's getting rid of an egg, but he's making an omelette as he gets a snake and an Evo Recruiter down this turn, which is very solid in the early turns of the game. Or is he? It's annoying because of the 3-1, but it's still good.
It's
like,
still pretty insane.
Turn 4, 5-5-3-4-3-3. It's like, it's about as good as it's going to get.
I think with Solarium as well, you're a little bit more disposed to start making these plays. And this is what it is, right?
Make them have
so
it.
much in Zoo. Exactly. That's the phrase. Make them have it.
And even what's the have here? Is Brawl actually that good?
Trade Warpath is terrible.
That's what I mean, like, what is actually a good play for Glory here?
Shield Slam trade, I guess, is one of the best things that Glory can do.
I think maybe Shield Slam. But Shield Block, Shield Slam?
And then Eternium Rover,
and just
maybe.
have a 3-3? Have a 3-4, sorry?
So many. Yeah, that's what
I think you'd wait with the Eternium as well.
Yeah, I agree.
Because you've got Whirlwind, you've got other stuff. You might end up brawling the refill. So yeah, I think you just go, you know what? If you end this sick turn with just a 3-4, and I've got lots of armor, fine. You win this round, Mr. FroStee.
Alternatively, the players trade Shield Block, Hero Power, Pass, tank the 8 damage on this turn, and say you have to commit more for me to bother trading.
That's a good pickup, though.
That is.
Excuse me, sorry. Going for the Solarium pretty early. This gives him the mana to be able to play a Vulture, but still, this is going to be a little bit tight depending on what these draws are. What, 3 of the worst cards he could have drawn in combination with each other?
Yeah, exactly. It's 3 of the best cards, which makes them 3 of the worst cards.
Exactly. High mana cost. Well, don't even look, FroStee. Play the Vulture.
You play the Vulture, yeah.
It's too good.
It's too important.
Just seen a Shield Slam. Vulture doesn't die to anything else.
Yeah. No,
not regularly. It'll die till the, second mummy?
Wow, he's diverting
FroStee.
away.
Madman.
He wants the Recruiter instead.
So he's remaking a wide board.
Okay, I guess.
He's just saying go again, right?
Yeah. Because this is just immediately good. There's the Vulture has to stick around for a turn to be good. This has already done its job. It's made the 5/5. But this is definitely, again, from FroStee, a lot more immediately all-in school of thought rather than trying to take it a little bit more late game with the consistent value of Vulture.
Now the terror that is Super Collider. What a great weapon. Again, I didn't think people thought this weapon was going to be that good.
I didn't think it was going to be good.
5 mana, 1/3 weapon. You kidding?
What's
it do? Win the game on swing? Yeah, sometimes.
Pretty much.
Yeah, you're like, well, actually, yes, it does. Look at it, like everything FroStee does now has to consider Super Collider, and sometimes you can't.
You just can't.
And you just got to deal with it.
It was, Super Collider I think now is in a good spot. In the Odd Warrior days, it was so busted. It was unbelievable because you just never died. You had so much armor.
Well, you had the armor to completely negate the damage.
Yeah. Whereas now there is obviously a pretty big trade-off. If you're attacking into big minions, you're chunking a lot of hits.
Is it going to be a Brawlicus Maximus here? And just you can hit swing first, get rid of the first version of the Mekaru, and then just brawl. Be like, let's go.
So what's the alternatives? You swing into the 3/4, and then trade the 1/3 in. Whirlwind then, I guess, as well. Like
Glory's running 2 plagues. Does he really want to use Whirlwind?
True. Yeah, and then he can fit in an Armadillo as well.
I guess.
I think this is okay.
I guess both players are on some thin hands, I'll call it.
Yeah.
I think I would have just played Brawl there.
That belongs in a museum.
Well, the Harrison trades, right? Whereas this could trade up into the Armadillo.
Yeah, with the 1/1, I guess
You know what I mean?
sticking a
Just
4/1 on board isn't necessary.
Saves him a minion, right?
Yeah, things go wrong with Direwolf, Juggler, Grim Rally. Fair enough.
Well, I know what turn I'm doing, and it wouldn't have been that.
Easiest vulture, if you like. I think that runs into too many problems with Super Colliders.
I guess it's just going
currently
to say,
has,
well,
yeah.
Super Collider this.
Glory, I think his first thought was, oh, do I have to brawl?
Does he hack? Because that's to play Armadillo, right?
Yeah,
It's absolutely. I thought Glory would be happy with that turn. One single 8/8 to deal with, and he has a Taunt.
Oh,
The
he's
trade-
so low on cards, though. It just gets smacked into and dies.
Yeah, and then you just smack into it with a mummy, right?
I suppose.
Like, you've traded a Sea Giant for Armadillo. I think in Zoo, you're okay with that. Or versus Zoo, you're okay with that, should I say.
If he can find the right cards. This is where Warrior starts to struggle, where, you don't have a lot of card draw in the deck anymore. Acolyte is all but departed from all versions of Warrior.
Didn't get the Harrison with a weapons
Yeah,
project,
there
of
we go.
course, which would have been huge.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Glory's using the Battle for Azeroth card back again from pre-order.
Is that so much lore as trivia?
Okay.
Still appreciated, though, however, I'm horrendously ingrateful, which I apologize.
Nice, I'm used to it. Sol's trained me for years for this moment, Derek. It's okay.
Well, I'm seeing, at the very least, Restless Mummy into the Juggler, into the 0-3, and then a swing of the weapons to take out the Vulture and the Giant. Seems right to me.
I'm really surprised it wasn't just Brawl.
No tomb can hold me.
Yeah, 'cause it's like a Brawl you always win, right?
No tomb can hold me.
But this is like
I
kind of like that,
guess,
but just
I guess.
better because he's miles ahead on board now.
Yeah. In my mind, I was like, well, now, Brawl's worse, so to speak.
That is definitely
But obviously,
a
if
factor.
Brawl's worse because you're winning, that's not that bad. It just gets weird when, like, FroStee plays a board that you can't compete with, and then you have to brawl this anyway. Whereas in my mind, I would have brawled and then had stuff left afterwards. But, who am I to say which one's better? Although Mega Defender now. Yeah, let's go, Giant.
Oh, FroStee playing very much off the top now, so if this can be dealt with, of course, he is in trouble. And I suppose this isn't a brawl turn? Like, 1 out of 6 times you're very, very miserable if you brawl, and the Giant
I think he just holds,
survives.
right?
If he brawls and one of his guys survives, and then he goes for a Mega Defender. He's deeming it worthy.
Oh. Close. Okay, that might spell doom.
That's probably.
That's enough, Glory. He's already dead.
Oh.
Nope. And that's going to be the game. And wow. That was just like budget Hearthstone, I feel, from both players. They were playing with like 2 cards each
Yeah, it was
throughout
actually,
the whole
yeah.
game. with barely anything in their hand throughout all of it, which considering you're against the matchup was Control Warrior, which often plays with a full hand in some matchups, at least, especially the Mirror, and Zoo that has live tap. It was very sort of, I don't know, lightweight in terms of what turns they could both play. But I guess I think, although some of my criticism about when the Brawl was played or not, in hindsight, Glory did give himself the best opportunities to get ahead in the game, as opposed to, in my mindset, I think I was more like just defend and hope it doesn't get worse, basically. So that's why Glory's over there and I'm over here, I suppose. But that was just game one. We're going to move quickly on to game two after a short break. We'll be right back.
Wait. We're still doing another one of these? Even with the plagues out there? All right. Greetings, Junior Explorers. Are you ready for adventure? I sure hope so. I'm Ryan Collins, and I'm here to send you out into the Tombs of Terror. The Tombs of Terror sound completely and utterly horrifying, but you're gonna be totally 100% fine. I'm not going, though. No way. You may have heard about those nasty plagues in Old Doom. What you may not know is that the League of Evil unleashed them to destroy the world, and in the process, let loose some seriously mighty mystical beings. And that's where you come in. Tombs of Terror will follow the format of previous Build As You Go adventures. You'll be fighting a series of random encounters and improving your deck as you go with more cards and fantastical treasures. Not only that, but you'll be accompanying the best of the best. That's right, Rand Bronzebeard, Elise Starseeker, Reno Jackson, and Sir Finley Mergleton, they're back. And these legendary explorers have a few new tricks in their wide-brimmed hats. For this momentous occasion, each of the 4 explorers are dual-class heroes, fully representing the strengths of 2 distinct classes at once. For example, with Reno's recent experience with magical artifacts, magic! He's able to sling spells as a mage and use some of his old tricks as a rogue. You'll be able to build your deck with cards from both classes, creating new and exciting combos as you go. Want to deliver a massive druid swipe into your opponent's face with Prophet Velen in play? How about activating rogue combo cards with mage spells? Deck building rules are out the window. Again, with the League of Explorers by your side, I can 110% guarantee that you will be totally fine. Early reports have informed us there's even a nice tavern out there in Old Doom where you can relax, modify your deck. I'm not sure who would be running a tavern during such chaos.
Nice.
At the start of your adventure, you'll get to make another choice to help shape your deck. You'll still choose a starting deck and hero power, but now you'll also have your own collection of signature treasures for each hero. Signature treasures are special cards suited to each explorer that you'll be able to unlock as you play. As you progress, you'll unlock even more powerful signature treasures, giving you a steady flow of new options. So while Reno Jackson may start off with his trusty hat, will eventually end up with the Gatling Wand, a powerful instrument of magical might. You may find that some signature treasures are better suited to your playstyle than others, and that's part of the fun too. With your group of explorers fully equipped and ready for action, Tombs of Terror will bring you through 4 chapters of tomb diving goodness. You'll fight a wide assortment of villains, mummies, a bunch of water-toting murlocs. But you're really here to take down these Plague Lords. Plague Lords are the physical embodiments of each of the plagues. They range from a monster made entirely of murlocs to a living form of rage itself. These are huge enemies to tackle with enormous health pools. As they take damage, the Plague Lord will change phases, switching hero powers and strategies to become even deadlier. You might be worried about your chances, but I assure you, you'll be safe. Not only are you a well-trained explorer with cutting-edge equipment, but Plague Lords actually have persistent health pools. So if you show up, go face for 100 or 200 damage, and then get smashed, don't worry. The next time you fight that Plague Lord, that damage will still apply, allowing you to whittle them down if you need to. Although Plague Lords are the purest embodiment of evil we've ever encountered, we're certain that, look, I can't do this. These guys are doomed. Get out while you can. It's not gonna work. But no, you'll be fine. Everything's fine here. Once you defeat all 4 chapters, you'll unlock the finale, which is a delightful mystery. Good luck out there, explorers. And if you manage to get yourself mummified or worse, please don't come back for me.
It's FroStee versus Glory, game number 2 coming right up, and Glory taking a win there. It's looking pretty good overall, I think.
Yes, I think so too. Not only in this particular series, but of course overall in Hearthstone Grandmasters. At a 6-1 record, should he take this victory, he will be joining on the other side Chonsu at a 7-1 record, looking, like we said, pretty much guaranteed for top 4. It feels like at that kind of a record.
I think it's a big deal for Glory as well because he didn't really, honestly, didn't really stick out that much last season. Didn't really have anything mind-blowing, and especially with just Glory and Alutimu being the only representatives from Japan, whereas, for example, from Korea we have many players, representing that region. Then I think it's important for them both to just do well and say, oh, actually, Japan's a scene that's been growing consistently over the past few years, and now with a much more sort of closed circuit in terms of how many players we see in these broadcasts, then it's important for the few we do to perform well, not only for themselves, but just to represent the region as well.
I fully agree. Speaking of performing well, this looks like a handful of Glory, which we'll be able to do exactly that. I'm not sure if that was a full keep on the mulligan.
I see a cleric. Okay, that's checkbox 1. And yep, no checkbox 2. Okay, right, we're good to go. The priest opening is done.
Hey, I got you, friend.
Someone is is someone injured? They're about to be.
It's one of those like twists in a lot of books, isn't it, where like the doctor is the murderer. It's like, we never saw this coming.
The phone call came from within the house.
The cleric is supposed to heal. He actually does the damage.
Is someone injured? Would they like to be?
A secret unlockable second voice line for the card. If you kill someone with Combo Priest 2,000 times, you unlock Cleric's second voice line. I still love alternate art cards. Blizzard would make a lot of money off me if they did that. Such an evil Cleric, that's got to be a card in this expansion. This, though, feels like death. I mean, okay, let's be honest, though. Very, very, very strong opening from Glory.
Yes.
FroStee does have cards, though. He has Warpath,
He's got really good
Plague.
cards.
He has got a Taunt for Grizzly, which is good.
Yeah.
He has the Mummy as well, which is fantastic versus Priest, because it's just pretty high damage output removal for low mana cost when you compare them. So FroStee is by no means out of this game.
He's eking closer and closer.
But I've seen worse Priest hands win games,
Right.
put it that way.
So, the one decision I think for Glory... Well, okay, so coining out the double 1-drop on 1 was a decision. Well, I think it was probably correct. We can see it worked out very nicely. The play to go for trade into the flunky and then heal rather than double trade heal has obviously positives and negatives. He draws an extra card in the positive and he keeps the beaming sidekick in play. But also there's a flunky on the other side of the board which could have just been cleared off completely and 2 cards could have still been drawn. Do you think it was correct?
I think that it's overall for me correct because drawing extra cards is how you win the game.
Yes.
And I think that what does a 2-2 right now change? Not that much as far as I'm concerned. It doesn't really... Yes, you lose 2 damage to face, doesn't matter. And like, does the 2-2 make any breakpoints happen that wouldn't happen anyway?
I think it does actually.
But where?
With Restless Mummy specifically, because, with extra health buffs in hand like the other beaming sidekick, I reckon there's a reasonable chance that you can get this guy up to above 6 health, which makes Restless Mummy unable to clear it off. Whereas in this instance, because he had to trade into the flunky, instead of being able to go double trade into the bear, heal up and buff, it would have been at 7 health.
That's true, but are you really playing around a 3-drop against
Right,
Warrior?
right.
That's my
Yes,
point, right?
yes.
The outcomes are 2-drop into X into Mummy,
That's a fair point.
and the X isn't often a minion that you can't deal with.
Right.
So I think at Glory's point in time he made the play, I would have done it. I think it was good.
Okay, you
can't,
sold me.
yeah, like flunky into exactly 3-drop or a snip
A
snap.
snip snap, and the thing with snip snap is I think it would work out because there'd be 1/1/1 left on the board. It would be the 6 attack and the 1 from the guy to deal 7 damage. So yeah, I think you're just right in this instance, as is good. Because every extra card you can get against Warrior could
It's
just
massive.
be night and day.
It's massive, yeah. How many games just in GM have we seen where it's like, oh, if he only drew one Divine Spirit to win the game, if he only drew the Inner Fire, so on, so on. So it's like any extra card draw you can eke out. Like I said, the 2 damage to face means nothing at all. And really, it's just every card draw possible gets Glory closer to just saying no to FroStee's game plan and to owing the series. These are the real questions I struggle with, and we've talked about it a lot, but let's talk about it again. When does Glory say go in terms of using some of these more powerful tools in the deck? Like right now, he could make what, an 8/8 and hit face?
Yes.
Or he could not. Or he could go for some trades. I think the trades would generally be quite bad because he doesn't have a circle. Or he could just go wide on the board, or he could play really slow and wait to play like Ammit plus 2 1-drops or something. These are the turns that I find very difficult with Priest.
I think the thing that I want to see here most of all is prioritizing draw above all else.
Okay.
And I think this is one of the things one of the worst aspects of my Priest play, which I've been playing quite a lot recently, is I've been too committed to developing onto the board, which is why I love this from Glory. I think it would have been very easy there to go Ammit 1-drop, or Psychopomp, or
Whatever.
Divine Spirit Extra Arms Inner Fire, whatever it may be. Whereas if he just keeps drawing, he doesn't have to commit anything more to the board, because this will win.
Right.
He can just go Divine Spirit Inner Fire, the game's over. And I think the reason for that is while you have draw, prioritize it as much as possible, because the warrior otherwise will just fatigue you of all your resources. So I really like this from Glory. It's obviously met with a slight punish, I suppose you could call it, of course, if Ziliak's magnetized on, but I think that's always bad, so punish isn't necessarily the right word, it's just a strong play from FroStee.
And also, he could just use the extra arms and the 2/1.
Yeah.
To just, it's annoying, but get rid.
I wonder.
And this one generally only happens once a game. So once it's gone, it's gone.
Glory has some hella powerful turns, though, if he's able to grasp them. Like, we're looking at
What about just extra arms trade?
Extra Arms,
Heal.
trade, Cleric, and then Nephicet as well. Like, if he can manipulate it, he could draw a lot of cards on this turn. I guess maybe he saves Nephicet, but healing up the Cleric to full is pretty good here as well.
Or what if he just trades away the 1/2 and plays it?
Sure.
Even though it's, over trading, so to speak. But look at this. Like you said, I
Yeah.
like this a lot.
I like this too. Because this is the other facet that's very important against Warrior, where he's doing everything I was talking about.
Oh.
He's drawing cards, he's saving resources, but
Oh, it's
he's
just
also
insane.
keeping a resilient board. He's doing everything right here as Glory.
This is very good play.
I
actually,
really like
yeah.
this play.
I would be scared to play against Glory if he's playing Priest like this.
Absolutely.
I'm scared to play against Priest, no matter who's piloting it. But if Glory's going to pilot, we've got no chance. May as well concede turn 1. And now we start to see the problem. There is the Warpath into Plague, which honestly,
Is there any choice other
I
than
think
that?
FroStee might just have it feels kind of bad because it's not, you've not even seen a Divine Spirit
Yeah.
yet. But I think it just has to, right?
It's a Cleric on the board.
And it's a 5/9 Cleric. You
Yeah.
could just die next turn.
Yeah.
Like, ugh. And also, he's past halfway through his deck.
It's
So
true.
it's not as if you're like, oh well,
Yeah.
maybe or probably these key winning cards are a bit further down. Well, Glory's going to be way nearly into 2/3 of his deck next turn. It's insane.
FroStee here has to play respect to Glory as well, because if he was to go Shield Block, Hero Power, Pass, say, Glory's not an idiot. He's not going
I'm
to
gonna
just...
play all my minions.
Exactly. He's going to hit face and he's going to pass. Maybe draw an extra card, Powered Shield. If he has
Yeah.
lethal, he'll go for it, of course. But I don't think FroStee can expect to get a better Plague of Wrath later in the game.
Oh, how close is that now?
I mean, you can just start drawing to find it, right? Yeah.
I mean, you just probably will find it.
probably will.
Honestly, there was even a small thought of going Pyromancer Powered Shield. I think that's what Glory's
That's what I
stopping
was
for.
looking at,
Like
yeah.
Pyromancer, Powered Shield, or like do it the second one.
Yes.
Draw cards, and then the odds of you either
Cleric
getting
heal,
heal
yeah.
or Divine Spirit are so high.
I think that's maybe a little mana restrictive. Because if it wasn't, if he was at full 10 mana,
You destroy your deck.
I agree. Yeah, I think that would have just been lethal. Because especially as he hasn't got... Oh no, he's got 1 circle of healing left.
Oh, well, there we go.
That is
26,
26.
32.
That's lead.
Yep. That, my friends, is the game, and that's just, again, I think FroStee there just had to suck it up and Plague. I think he had to. Because also, he's seen one Psycho Pump, which is one more than sometimes you get the opportunity to Plague afterwards. So, good play from Glory, further cementing his dominance in this division so far in Grandmasters, and his dominance in this season of Grandmasters full stop, because, again, I've not done the exact math because we're not quite close enough to the end of the season, but I think it's getting very close, if not already there, of him saying he's almost just guaranteed through to top 4 at this point. It's getting very, very close. It's such another good week for him.
That's right, and Glory now will have his eyes set not only on top 4, but locking out that first place, because when we get through to the playoff stage, he gets basically a free win in the first round of the double elimination bracket.
I thought that doesn't happen
against
anymore.
the 4th place player. I'll have to look up.
We'll get back to that.
I think it might still be the case.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah, we'll make sure just before we get to that point. As you said, still
We've
a little
still got a
ways
few
away.
weeks, right? We'll brush up.
But for FroStee now, he's down to, I believe, what is that, 3-5 record now at the end of the week. Started off at 2-4.
I think so, yeah.
Beat Staz, now loses to Glory, which means he's a reasonable record, you know, with Patra and Blitzchung both doing so poorly. He's probably still safe from relegation, I think, unless things start to go very wrong for him.
And there's time for that to happen as well.
There is time for that, but he's got his eyes set on that 4th place, I think, for playoffs still.
Yep, there is still a chance. And speaking of Staz, he's going to be coming up next, going up against